and welcome to this meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission. Tonight, we will move immediately into our business. We have a couple of points to clarify from our meeting minutes from the last meeting in January, so we're going to hold those this evening, return to those next time, and so we'll be able to proceed with the applications on the agenda for this evening. Just by way of introduction for those who are unfamiliar with our process, as each application is announced under the public hearing schedule, we ask that the applicant or their representative come forward, provide their name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application involved. Following any questions from the commission members, we will provide an opportunity for members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to do so. And then we will offer an opportunity for members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do that as well. Where comments are offered in opposition, we will afford the applicant an opportunity to address the comments made in opposition. And we ask that all speakers, pro or con, provide concise comments, trying to keep them to 2 to 3 minutes per speaker. So with that, we are ready to begin.
We are ready. First up this evening is an old business item. It's a special use permit, SP-24-30, located at 623-25 Wolf Street and 2nd North. Just to tee this up, this project was heard on December 18th, 2024. It was held to work with the applicant to consider the crime prevention through environmental design, CPTED recommendations from the Syracuse Police Department. We did close public comment at that meeting. We have not deliberated on seeker. And the applicant was ill at the last meeting, bringing us to tonight. So this lies within the MX2 zone district, and the owner is Greg Nees, East Coast Housing LLC, as owner applicant.
Good evening. First and foremost, I'd like to say sorry I missed the last meeting, but I had a touch of the flu and it took me off my feet, so my apologies. We're here on behalf of Tommy's Diner to convert over to a diner versus the old bar and grill, seeking our special use permit and a certificate of use.
And there were a series of recommendations from the CPTED office. Can you address those comments that were made and your plans to incorporate some or all of them?
Sure. Some of them were taken into good consideration. We'll start off with the lighting. I do agree that there's spots around the building at night that do get very dark. We already spoke to an electrician who is waiting for it to get a little warmer out to do it. It's a very simple modification. So yes, we took that into consideration and agreed that there's pockets around the building that are dark, and I want the building lit up. So we are doing that. We are on the schedule to do so, but I can't speak on the electrician's behalf, but it is going to happen. I think there was a fence on there. The fence was sort of to be determined. That's sort of a tough one because I think that would be a neighborly thing. So both neighbors, because people cut through both sides from their lot into ours and vice versa, taken into consideration, but I think that would be a combo with the other property owner. I think one of the things on there was the hours of operation, which is 5 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Sunday. That's pretty straightforward. I don't see that being an issue. I don't imagine opening up at 5 to 7 p.m. The other issue was we had sort of a little quarrel that I would like to discuss would be the window decals. There's 3 front windows on the Wolf Street entrance that you could visibly, when you're up to them, see through them. When you're on the inside, you could see out of them. These decals been up for probably 7 to 10 years with various decals changing from sayings to right now they're eggs because we're trying to open up a diner there. There was an issue with that. Not really sure why, but 2 of the windows where there's decals, there's also booths in front of. They've been there for a long time now. So there's partially covered anyways with the booths, and then there's decals in front of them. like I said, if you're up close, you can see in, and if you're inside, you could very easily see out of them. If you drive around the city of Syracuse, there's plenty of businesses up and down Wolf Street and around Syracuse that have either posters or signs in the windows. So that was something I would like to discuss a little further. Other than that, I'm not sure what else is on there offhand.
See if my colleagues have additional questions.
Yeah, I have two questions
Sure.
about the SEPTED report and your response. And I appreciate your responses to the SEPTED report. The two questions I have are issues. One with respect to the fence, which you just mentioned. You indicated on the report that you would like to pursue that as a joint project between you and your neighbor. According to the SEPTED report, that would be a very important feature for impacting the criminal aspects of the environment. I understand your desire to possibly have the neighbor contribute in the cost of the fence. That makes sense, but I think our feeling is the fence is important. You have a year to get all the permits necessary and 18 months to complete the project. So it seems that should be ample time, if possible, to work out an agreement with your neighbor about the sharing the costs of the fence. So I'm not sure. We'll talk about it. It's up to the commission and my colleagues whether they want to make that a condition or not. The other question I had is regarding the parking, and it was recommended that there be bollards or planters or something placed between the parking area and the right-of-way, because right now it's very easy for people to back into the right-of-way. And even if you stripe it, that still doesn't impact that. It's still quite possible for that to happen. So again, my recommendation would to make the bollards or planters or some other device a condition so that people cannot park and back out into the right-of-way.
If I could answer the first question regarding the fence, because that's sort of a hot topic and an expensive issue to just have done. There's also the other side of it. I spoke to a gentleman who runs a security firm by the name of Jeff Halsey. And what he stated also, the fence also creates a barrier where people can harbor too. So there's two sides of looking at it. You cannot fence the entire property, and I don't think, because there's a sidewalk, and you can't totally enclose the whole fence. So by putting a fence in the particular location between the parking lots could also create a haven of almost, a hangout as well, or a hidden hangout. So there's two sides of that with the fence. So I think a little bit more investigation on that concept, because people could also use a corner of a fence as a area to sleep, unfortunately, in that area. So that's that. As far as the parking lot goes, I spoke to a gentleman, a friend of mine by the name of John Centaur, who does striping and so on and so forth. I think we were talking about arrows before, going in and out of the parking lot. That can be done in the spring. Fortunately, right now, that cannot be done because of the ice buildup. So everything can be addressed, but the fencing is something that I think we all need to take into consideration regarding other aspects. That gives also someone an area to hide out in also.
Right. So just on the striping, to clarify, I think the striping is fine. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't do the striping. Okay. I think our feeling is the striping is probably not sufficient, that you still need the planters or bollards or something that's not expensive but is an adequate barrier to prevent people from backing into the right of way.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
If I could, when you guys do your final decision, if I can get a write-up of our final decisions and everything, that'd be great. Just something to work off of.
Other questions for this applicant?
Me. Okay, Greg, the decals in the front, I believe, fall into the square footage of signage that's allowable or not allowable with all of the commercial property.
Okay.
So I would leave that to the zoning administrator and his team to navigate with you as part of the factors and conditions tonight to make sure that if you are exceeding, you either remove, replace, or you have to come back
Sure.
for a waiver on the sign.
Right, which we want to avoid.
If that's agreeable, then it's between you and Jake.
Sure. And of course, I'm willing to work with you. I invited you guys down. I also invited anyone down to the restaurant to see it for your firsthand, yourselves also. So, with that, yes, we will take that up in consideration. And but based on the square footage, I just want to see what that means exactly. Based on signage and square footage, that's a little above my head until it's explained to me. But we will take everything into consideration, of course.
Okay. I agree with you and on the September report that it's dark, especially on the Wolf Street side when I go by at night.
Yes.
So hopefully, the new lighting plan, I believe, has to include the Wolf Street entrance
Absolutely.
and the ADA access.
So if I could answer that very
Yep.
quickly. There is lighting there. When the facility was closed, the lights weren't just on. There is lighting up front. There's lighting underneath the awning and above. So
There
there's proper lighting on the Wolf Street
Right.
side. Those lights were turned off because we wanted to be closed. We didn't want no more attention there or nothing. So those lights are active and working. The lights I was referring to were on the side and in the back of the parking lot. Not back of the parking lot, but the building, because there's a little cove there, and it does get dark. There's actually lighting there. It needs to be repaired. Add better lighting.
Obviously, the more lighting around the entire
100%.
perimeter, the safer and more secure your property.
100%. And I want the lighting there as well. I'm sorry, go ahead.
ahead.
Nope,
Nope.
I want to add one more thing. I just purchased a new NVR, which is a security system, the old security system, DVR, but it's called an NVR, was not functionable. So I just purchased that. We're in the midst of getting all the security cameras back working properly that are on the outside as well. Yeah, so that is being addressed.
Okay.
I was very busy, attempted to set it up all myself. We got to seek Chris, a gentleman who does this for a living, to come help with that assistant.
So in the striping, there's a dumpster in the back corner taking up a couple parking spots.
Okay?
We usually require an enclosure of some sort on the dumpster for the neighbors and residents. I mean, you'll see them in the back of a lot of properties.
Okay.
Some people match their exterior, some people do
Understood.
something different. So I believe that also.
So fenced in,
It-
I believe,
yes.
or enclosed.
It's a screening.
It can be like a fence or a wall, or it could be
Oh,
landscaping.
you can't hear me.
But
Sorry.
it has to be taller than the receptacle itself,
Right.
too, so
Do I have to get a code permit to do this?
if it's a fence,
Sorry,
yes.
I'm so not joking.
It's Jake again.
I'm so not joking with this.
Okay, and my last comment or question is on the hours of operation now are 5 a.m. to 7 p.m., as I understand it. You are currently operating with a conditional use permit. And I guess I would be curious to hear how you think it's going, what your perspective is.
Sure. Right now, Tommy is running a soft opening, okay? Currently open at about 7 a.m. to about 2 p.m. right now. Just getting everything figured out. Just getting everything figured out before we go. Also getting our special use permits and our certificate of compliance falls into things, then we can start advertising. We feel like we're walking on thin ice right now, so we don't want to feel that way to move forward. But once everything is in place and we achieve our certificate of compliance and all that, hours will be 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Working up to that. As of right now, Tommy's open from Thursday to Sunday, currently, approximately 7 to 2. Just real short hours, very soft opening, making sure the right people are in place as far as workers and so on and so forth, straightening out the menu, testing a few things, and everything's going very good. We've had some positive response. A group of older ladies came in and very much enjoyed themselves, wrote us a nice letter stating they enjoyed themselves, and good to see the corner back into something more positive.
And you will remain the owner, Tommy will remain the operator.
I am the owner of the building.
Right.
Okay, yes, and Tommy's operating the
Tommy will
business.
operate the business.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All set, thank you.
Yep,
Good, thank you.
thanks.
Yes. Okay. We closed public comment on this at the December meeting, I believe, but we have not yet undertaken our seeker review. I think we're in a position to address that now.
Has everyone had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the 11 questions of the short EAF Part 2, also contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a seeker motion to that effect?
I make a motion to issue a negative seeker declaration.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the seeker motion? No discussion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is adopted. We may now proceed to make a recommendation on SP 2430 for the special use permit. That recommendation will move to the Common Council for final disposition.
Before we make a motion, I'd like to suggest a discussion about conditions. We currently have 8 conditions in the staff analysis on page 18 of the application packet. And in addition to those 8 conditions beyond the general conditions, I would recommend 1, the screening of the dumpsters, as Commissioner Murphy suggested, 2, the bollards or plants or some other obstruction between the parking area and the right-of-way.
Physical barrier.
And I would drop the additional discussion about a complete fence, unless the rest of the commissioners feel that's essentially necessary.
Would you like to have a little discussion about those, or is there preference to have a motion with those various conditions embodied in the motion, and then discussion if there's a second for that?
I'll second the motion.
We didn't form the motion yet.
If you're making that
Just
a motion,
checking, yeah, okay.
It's
it's the
getting
win-win.
close.
Yeah, right, we're getting close. Commissioner Murphy?
Okay, sorry, what did I miss? Didn't Walter
Commissioner
second?
Lentz, well, there wasn't anything to second, but there will be soon, I think. Commissioner Lentz had just described, in addition to the conditions
conditions, I heard that,
listed in
yep.
the packet, he has 2 additional ones, fencing, or screening for the dumpster and physical barrier for the parking, in addition to the 7, is it listed in?
In addition to the 8.
And
Right. And I'm willing to drop the fence around the whole property, deferring to the advice of the rest of the commission.
so that was just kind of a thought, not a formal motion. And I was just asking, do we want to have a little discussion about those 7 plus 2 potential conditions now, and then see if there's,
Just to clarify from staff, the screening is in there as number 4. If I have this right, I believe the applicant, and based on Commissioner Lentz's potential recommendation, that everything would be applicable with the exception of the fence between the properties. I believe I have that right.
Thank you, you're right about the
and
screening
I'll-
enclosures.
I'll let
I did
the-
find that phrase. I was looking for it before.
So it seems like you agree, when you were up here, it seemed like you were agreeable to everything with the exception of the fence. Does that?
I don't have, I'm not reading like you guys
Yeah.
are reading right now. The fence just, yeah, I think so. The signage in the windows also, I think if we could talk about that on a different note. And once again, I invite everyone down to see for themselves in person if warranted.
Staff would recommend that part of the signage compliance with zoning, if we can make it work, we will. If not, we'll have to come up with a plan, an alternative plan.
That's fair enough.
But the condition that all permits are applied for, that can cover that, and that can cover the screening device for the dumpster enclosure. All of that could be captured in number 7. So it seems like the only exception that we're going to take out of this, out of the written listed conditions, is only potentially the fence, should you wish to act in that manner.
Okay. Okay, so given the advice of Jake, then I will make a motion with just the 8 conditions beyond general conditions, if it's agreed that that's correct.
With the one exception to not include the SEPTED recommendation for the territorial reinforcement fencing between the parking lots. Is that, okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. You want me to restate that as a formal motion? Or are we good enough?
I think we're good.
Okay.
We're working primarily off of the recommendations from the staff report with minor modification there too. So we have a motion and a second discussion on this motion with the conditions enumerated. There's no discussion, and I will call for a vote and ask all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries for SP 2430, and that will now move to the Common Council for further action.
And one final question, if I could. Will there be a final write-up so I could see a final
Yeah.
paperwork? All right. Then we can discuss, whatever we need to.
Everything else, worth items like your business hours, that you're going to keep your C of U's kind of more standard
Sure.
language. But
Understood. But maybe if there's some from a formal review from
Yeah,
the,
yep.
do the checklist or whatever per se. That'd be cool.
Yep, it'll be an assigned resolution that you get from this body.
Excellent. Thank you. Anything else from me? Am I good?
I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice
you.
night.
So that takes care of old business for this evening, and now we move, into our new business items.
All right, next up is a re-subdivision, R-24-74 at 1210 North State, 1212 North State, and 1214. Owner, applicant is the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation, and Jacob Smorl, owner of 1214. This is in the MX3 zone district.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Dallas Bryson. I'm here representing the Greater Syracuse Land Bank for the property at 1210 and 1212 North State Street. The Land Bank acquired 1212 North State Street in 2014 and 1210 North State Street in 2020. They demolished both dilapidated houses there in November of 2023. Jacob Smorl recently purchased the single-family house at 1214 North State Street and is currently rehabbing it for his grandson. He would like to purchase the two adjacent vacant lots for additional yard space. Following is the justification for the re-subdivision of these three parcels. I think you may already have a copy of this. Would you like me to also read the justification?
You don't need to read it, but if you
Okay.
wanted to summarize, but we do have that information with us.
Sure. So one of the solutions is that currently there's been illegal front yard parking in the house that was purchased, and by adding these two lots to the existing home, they'll be able to build a legal driveway, which previously there was not enough space for. There's not much infill construction demand for this area from home headquarters and housing visions, so there's not a likelihood that they're going to redevelop these two lots. There's also neighborhood aesthetic considerations by ensuring that the lots will be well maintained by the new homeowner. Yeah. Oh, there's more on the back. See here. And then, of course, the tax benefits that this will help prevent these lots from becoming orphaned in the future and bring them back onto the city's tax roll. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
All set, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm just trying to figure out the driveway situation, because there's one driveway that needs to go away and you need a permit for another. I'm just wondering, how do you anticipate that developing? 'Cause it looks a little bit complicated.
So I think currently the house just has a walkway, and then the previous owners of that house were just illegally parking on what is essentially the front yard.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Because there was not enough space next to the building to build a legal driveway before. But with the recombination of these lots, there'll be enough space for them to apply for a driveway permit.
Okay, great, thanks. And your justification is excellent. Just want to note, it's nice to get such a rich description of why this is a good thing.
The
to
land
do.
bank does it all for us.
Yeah.
You could have taken credit for it.
You're the one who's.
We wouldn't tell anyone.
You're the one that has to stand up for it.
Any other questions for the applicant? Good. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments.
Hello, everyone.
Good evening, Counselor.
Counselor Marty Nave, address 233 East Washington Street, third floor. I'm looking at this project, and we've had a discussion similar before. Throughout the north side, we have so many homes that are within 5 feet of each other. And we had this with another applicant. I support this to removal of one resident for land space and for a driveway. If you could see on some of the properties that they barely have enough room to utilize their driveway without being penalized when new curbing goes in. So this is a special project. I support this project. And I want to say that we're going to have future projects like this, where we've had numerous homes over 120 years old, built within a few feet of each other. We've seen homes that are in bad condition, and people just want to extend green space. They have a regular parking lot. So this would be an asset, and I would ask you to please approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there other individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come to the podium. We have no additional speakers, it appears, so we'll close public comment and turn to our seeker review.
Has everyone had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Do you believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there such a motion for the seeker review?
I make a motion to issue a negative seeker declaration.
Thank you. Second, thank you. Discussion on the motion before us. All those in favor of the motion before us, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is adopted, and we may now consider R2474, the re-subdivision on North State Street. Is there a motion for action on this item?
Sure, I make a motion to approve R-24-74 as presented with two conditions beyond the general conditions. One is the applicant has to successfully file the re-subdivision map with the county within 62 days, and two, the owner will have to, of 1214 State Street, will have to apply for a permit for the driveway.
Thank you. And you have a second? Second. Discussion on the motion now before us. There's no discussion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision for R2474 is approved. We move to another application.
Next up is another re-subdivision, R-24-75 at 168 West Calthrop Ave and 172-74 West Calthrop Ave. Owner of 168 and applicant is Sonia Hawkins, or Son, did I say that right? I don't know if I did. But the owner of 172-74 is Syracuse Land Bank. This is in the R1 zone district.
Thank you.
Hello again.
Hello again.
All right. Dallas Bryson from NEDA on behalf of the Syracuse Land Bank. In May of 2017, the Land Bank demolished a dilapidated two-family house at 17274 West Calthrop Street. The resultant lot is 40 feet by 128 feet. The owner of the single-family house at 168 West Calthrop Avenue would like to purchase the vacant lot for additional yard space. In the future, her plans are to construct a two-car garage and a new driveway, removing the existing driveway. following as the justification for the re-subdivision of these two parcels. Let's see here. Again, there's very little privately financed infill construction happening in the city in this area, so it's not likely to be a target for new construction in the near future. Re-subdivision will not alter the character of the neighborhood. The parcel is already vacant and not likely to be built on. There are several comparably sized lots already on West Calthrop, including 184, 194, and 191 West Calthrop, all of which are also between 79 and 80 feet wide. The other adjacent neighbor is owned by a landlord with code violations that make him not eligible to be a purchaser from the land bank. Merging the parcels will ensure that the property owner will receive one tax bill and that the vacant lot does not become orphaned at a later date. And this proposal offers the opportunity to put a vacant parcel back into taxable and productive use.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant from the commission members?
You know, I have a general question I'm curious about, because we've had a fair number of these re-subdivisions come through, like this, where the land bank is advancing a project where you're combining non-conforming lots because somebody wants green space, driveway, et cetera, all good things. I'm just curious, how often does this actually work out when the person actually purchases the other properties and the project goes through as anticipated? Do you have any sense of that?
I mean, by the time it gets to this point, it's been through so many checks and balances, I think it pretty much always goes through.
Good.
Because the home buyer or the person purchasing the lot has already paid to have the survey done, all of the other related expenses.
Great, thanks. I mean, I was suspicious that was the case, but I'm curious, I wanted to ask.
Yep. No, the land bank does a great job of vetting the
Yeah.
potential buyers.
Thank you.
Other questions? Nope. Okay. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. So we have no additional speakers for this application. We'll close public comment and address our seeker review.
Has everyone had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the 11 questions of the short EAF Part 2?
Yes.
Do you believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
Or I make a motion to issue a negative seeker declaration?
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Seconds. Discussion on the motion before us. If there is no discussion, all in favor of the seeker motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is adopted, and we may now proceed to action on the proposed re-subdivision R2475 on West Calthrop. Is there a motion for action?
I move approval of R-24-71 with affirmative recommendation for action by the Common Council. And beyond the general conditions, I would like to suggest we need to add 2 special conditions as before. 1, the filing of the deed within the county clerk's office within 62 days, and 2, condition regarding the filing of application for driveway, garage, and permit.
Thank you. Just to clarify, that was for R2475, correct?
I'm sorry, yes,
Thank you.
R-2475.
Just going to make a second with the friendly amendment, but it's already cleared up.
Okay. Thank you. Discussion on the motion now before us for the re-subdivision. If there's no discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision on West Calthrop is approved. We move toward our next application.
Next up is off-premise sign application, AS-24-03, located at 200 South West Street in West Fayette. Owner Steve Case, applicant Lily Doherty. This is in the MX3 zone district. Just for the board, staff has reviewed this. The proposal is compliant with the off-premise sign regulations, but a use variance was granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals on December 12th, 2024, to allow the establishment of the off-premise sign land use type at the subject site.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Marquette, and I am from Bond, Shenick, and King Law Offices at 1 Lincoln Center, 110 West Fayette Street, 13202. I have the privilege of representing Stephen Case, who is with me here this evening, in his application for an off-premise sign permit at 200 Southwest Street and West Fayette Street. As a general overview, and as already mentioned, the parcel in question requesting permit is in a mixed-use transition zone, MX3, and its neighboring parcels to the north is also an MX3, to the south and west is light industry and employment, and to the east is MX5, which is classified as central business. Of note, there are no residential areas surrounding this parcel. The property itself is a triangle-shaped parcel, which equates to approximately 3,000 square feet, currently vacant and too small for a parking lot or any other intended use of the premises. And the construction of this off-premise sign would utilize the space efficiently, and together with the landscaping plan, will add to the beautification of the area. As you'll see in your materials, the proposed sign is 17 feet above the ground in total. And this is important because this is the equal height as the signs on the two signs on the adjacent parcel, which abuts next to the New York, Susquehanna, and Western Railroad tracks. The dimensions of the sign itself are 9.5 feet by 38 feet long, and it would be a static display. In the materials in front of you, which we have reviewed thoroughly, we do see the comments regarding the curb cuts on both streets. Our only counter for your consideration regarding these curb cuts is my client has already owned the parcel for 4 years and has gone through the appropriate measures as he should and as we advocate continuously for. In addition, the curb cuts and improvement of those is really nested with the willingness to eliminate any need for any illegal parking, which is also the interest of my client as well. And we feel that the area beautification plan with the trees and shrubbery as proposed in your materials would provide a natural barrier to eliminate any illegal parking on the site. And so we ask that you can take that into consideration and to further consider eliminating any further economic hardship. As you also see in your materials in the proposed seeker form, the overall recommendation is that this does not result in any significant adverse environmental impact. And as opined by the Onondaga Planning Board, this proposed permit would not result in any significant adverse intercommunity or countywide implications. And as previously mentioned, this site was approved for a special use variance on December 12th, 2024. So subject only to your questions and comments, we respectfully request approval of this application.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
I have to ask, it's just the message on the billboard, is that just a teaser to entice the planning commission? Or is that going to be the permanent message? Welcome to Syracuse, looks good to me.
It could be. I wouldn't call it a teaser, but it is just an example to show the overall aesthetics of the site.
And when would you hope to implement your planting plan in the upcoming planting season?
Yes, the client is prepared to begin the planting this spring, pending your approval.
Questions?
I have a couple questions. So what you want to propose is that the curb cut not be addressed, correct? And you think that the way to address it is the landscaping?
Exactly. The curb cut would obviously help with the illegal parking, but as you see with the display there, we feel that the natural shrubbery serves as a natural barrier that would already eliminate any illegal parking, which we also have an interest in as well.
Right. So I have a couple of questions regarding that, whether your client is willing to accept or not, that the sale of that parcel would require the buyer to come back here and review to make sure that that curb cut does not become live. One. Two, that the lack of maintenance of the landscaping could constitute a violation, because the landscaping is obviously now in lieu of the curb cut protection, as well as the visual experience of the sign. So it's up to Steve.
Yep. No issues on our end.
Okay, thanks.
So, Commissioner Murphy, would that suggest that maintaining the landscaping becomes a condition?
Or that, really what I'd rather, what I'm saying is that if the maintenance is not done on the landscaping, it could constitute a violation by code.
Correct. And you always have those enforcement provisions that we're subject to.
Right.
Correct.
All right, Jay?
Yeah, staff would just want to recommend, I think this was covered in BZA, but we'll double down on it. Before anybody makes a motion, pay attention to the recommended conditions. There's the general conditions of approval for off-premise sign on page 12. There's 3 recommended specific conditions of approval, but I would add a 4th, that they agree to install and execute their layout and planting plan per page 115 of the packet and as rendered on page 116. And then if you should wish to include anything conditioned upon the curb cut, that you add that as a potential 5th condition of approval.
Okay.
And I just want to make one observation of a small, I think, discrepancy between the short environmental assessment form and the county's resolution, whereas the environmental form said it was not near a threatened or endangered species, but the county's letter made mention of the peregrine falcon. I don't think this project is problematic for the peregrine falcon at that site, but I just want to, for the record, note that the commission is cognizant of the comment from the planning board, and whatever it does proceed with action on this, it's aware of that comment from the county planning board.
Understood?
Any additional comments for the applicant? Or questions for the applicant, rather?
No, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. So we have no additional speakers on this application. We will close public comment and turn to our seeker review.
The BZA did seeker on this one. They had to.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can proceed then to action on AS 2403, the off-premise sign application at Fayette and West Street. Is there a motion for action?
I move approval of AS-24-03, and beyond the general conditions, we recommend 4 specific conditions. One is the applicant shall maintain all necessary approvals, permits, et cetera. Applicant shall implement and incorporate recommendations made to review any city departments into the design. 3, the applicant shall report to the Syracuse Office of Zoning Administration if any changes have been proposed. 4, the planning plan must be instituted and maintained as presented, otherwise it will constitute a violation. And Commissioner Murphy, do you want to add the 5th one regarding the curb cuts?
So what I would say is the maintenance of that planning plan, if not followed, could constitute a violation. And that my last condition would be that the sale of that property be, if it's to be continued in its use, exactly as it is, the new buyer would have to come back to the planning commission for approval. Good? Sure. Steve?
Steve Gase, 155 Xavier Circle, Syracuse, New York. If the property were to sell, they would have to come, if it's the same use and it's the same billboard, they would have to come back and get approval for the billboard or for the planting? I guess is my question.
So I think that I'll defer to the attorney and to Jake, but my point is if we're going to trade the so-called completion of the curb cut
Yep.
for the landscaping, right? And I go to buy it and I don't like the landscaping and I start ripping it out.
Got it.
Now we have the curb cut, right? And we didn't deal with it. You
Got
didn't
it.
deal with it. So whatever the right words are for everybody to agree, I just would like to prevent that type of scenario from occurring if you sell it.
Yep, I'm good with that.
Okay,
Awesome, thank you.
thanks. So it's up to you guys to figure out the proper language, or let's see what Jake's coming up
Can you
with.
clarify what you're saying, Commissioner Murphy?
So
you're-
yes, so we're giving Steve has permission now to put the billboards, landscape it, and leave the curb cut as it is, with the agreement that the landscaping is the deterrent
In lieu of.
for using the curb cut as access to the property, right? Do I have it right so far? Okay. Steve sells it to me. We're saying that's good. We're good with that because it's obvious that the landscaping prevents the use of the curb cut. But now he sells it to me. I hate the landscaping, so I start ripping it all out. The curb cut is now potentially activated, right? Because we didn't block it because we had the landscaping. So all I'm saying is if it's going to be sold, somebody could come back to the zoning administrator and say, I will leave it exactly as it is, and I want to continue everything exactly as it is. Or you have to come back to the planning commission and say, I want to change the landscaping, I want to change the curb cut, I want to change it.
Understood.
So whatever the right legal words are, I don't
Yep.
know about those, right?
So same use, same appearance on a sale, they do not need to go back to the planning
They need
commission.
permission from the zoning administrator.
Even for the same use and same landscaping plan that's approved?
I would, probably, I don't know, I'll
If-
defer to
If
the
I,
lawyers
if
in
I
the
could
room.
recommend, if Steve were to sell, and it's the same use, same appearance as approved, that they would not need to go back to the planning commission, but any alter to the approval that is subject to your review here today would then need to go back to the planning board.
Require a new review.
Correct.
All right,
That would be my recommendation.
okay. I really messed it up.
You know, it's interesting, such a discussion about a little property, but it's such an aesthetically important corner
It is.
for the city.
It is.
Has
It's
great
gonna-
value.
It's going to be a big improvement to the area.
Small lot, but big impact.
Yes, absolutely. Especially with that location on the corner.
Yeah.
It's an awesome sign. They're taking it very seriously.
All right, here's what's, sorry, we want to get this right, but we want to make sure that your concerns are covered. So what we've come up with is a recommended condition that should the landscaping not be maintained or removed, that you would be subject to the departmental comment, which is basically as listed, would be, yeah, the transportation planner's comments that you would abandon and replace the curb cut along Fayette and resize the width as well on the West Street side.
Okay, so what you're saying is, if the landscaping is not maintained properly as it is presented in the plan, or it's altered, we will revert back to it is a violation, and everybody has to come back and start over with the transportation planner's recommendation on the curb cut solution. Did I get it right?
I recommend for your consideration to add a 30-day cure period. Allow my client 30 days to cure any
I
violations.
love lawyers.
Yeah, we would have to issue a notice of violation anyway for that, so,
There's usually, what is it,
With-
15?
Must be some
What's the
standard.
normal days, Christian? Come on, 15?
the standard notice of violation for this, of non-compliance with this approval or with this condition of approval would be 15 days. So I mean, I think that would be sufficient.
That sounds fair to us. Absolutely.
Good, good.
Yep.
Steve? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So that means four
Gonna put
conditions,
it in a motion.
four conditions beyond the general condition. The three that are listed and the fourth one about the planner.
Do we have that on tape?
All right, sorry, Barry, go ahead.
Yeah,
What?
right. Well, I just wanted to clarify, so that means four conditions, not five, just the three that are already there. The fourth one is a planner with all of the language that we just worked out.
Correct.
Okay.
Which we'll probably have to get off the tape. Good?
Okay.
It was your motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll
With-
second that. Yep.
With the conditions discussed
Yeah.
previously. Okay. And
Or
we're
maybe we
clear.
should make that Commissioner Murphy's motion rather than mine, because that's a joke.
Okay.
All right, I second.
Thank you both. We have a motion before us with the conditions enumerated and discussed moments ago. I think there's clarity on what we're trying to achieve here with this motion and the conditions, but if commission members have any questions, now is the time to speak up. Is there any discussion on this motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? And the sign application is approved for Fayette and West Street. Thank you both very much.
Next up is a major site plan review, MASPR-25-00, located at 220-28 South Geddes Street and Marcellus Street. This is in the MX4 zone district. Owner applicant is Stefan Talev of Nick Realty LLC.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Pulowski with An Architects at 239 East Water Street. We're here representing Nick Realty and as the property owner, and also Common Councilor Rita Paniagua, sort of, sorry. The proposal here is, and why we're here, is to take part of the retail plaza at 220 South Geddes Street and take a roughly between 15,000, 16,000 square foot vacant former retail outfit and turn it into an I-4 adult social day program under Rita's company, Buena Vida CNY. So interior renovation of this space to make it accommodate the program for the adult social day program, which she has an agreement for management services as required under the code.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant?
Want to add anything about the programming?
Well, it's a program that will bring a lot of value to the community. It'll bring to. It's a place where there's a lot of challenges, and most of our seniors in these communities are very isolated and have nowhere to go to experience their age and their culture, and to feel like they're part of the community again. And that's exactly what we're going to try and do with this project. We're going to try to bring it alive. It's 16,000 square feet of blessings and fun that we're going to create for them. And if you see the floor plan, all of those divisions that you see there are different activities that will be running simultaneously. So it's not like a daycare program, although the state qualifies it as such because it's the only thing they can do. But this will be running simultaneously, and they will be able to choose what they want to do on a daily basis. Most of the activities that we will be running, we already have subcontracts with certain people and companies that they can even earn some money while they do while they learn how to do some of these things. So, we want to bring them back to be vital to the community and be part of us.
Okay, so there's, without calling it, any therapies, occupational therapy, but there are things that are available all day so that they can interact with other people.
Yes.
And then, like you said, avoid that isolation. They'll feel that they're around people in their age group that they can have common,
exactly,
social events with.
Yes.
Okay, but is there a medical piece to it?
So the state do require that when you have this kind of a program running in a place where, as per the fire department, we can have somewhere around 320 or something like that, 300, let's say 300 elders in the room. We definitely are going to have an RN. There's a specified space. Is the second one? Yes.
There is a care facility
Uh-huh.
as part of it for that, so they can have proper seclusion and get their medical treatment while they're waiting for transport away from this to receive additional care.
Yeah.
So there will be medical staff on hand in case there is a problem, but there isn't necessarily programmed medical. They're not coming here for
Oh, no, we're not
physical
medical.
appointments
Yeah.
or therapies or any of that. This is strictly
It's sort of a contingency if something should arise.
an emergency.
Yeah, we're having this kind of stuff just to make sure that we are complying with anything that may happen. And then we're gonna have case managers that will case manage their medicine intake, getting their medicine in the drugstore, taking them to the health appointment, things of that nature. We're going to be working with the family also, and actually, and their grandchildren. We have a lot of special events with the grandchildren, so we can make those connections.
What age range do you expect would take advantage of this in
So
particular?
the state regulation right now, it's 65 and up. However, if you have a certain kind of disability where you're still mobile, it doesn't matter how old you are. You can be part of the program. Yes.
And you certainly have plenty of parking, but I imagine it's also in walking distance for some. It's on a bus route as well.
Yep. And we will be open. Programming will start. It'll be from 10 to 3. We'll be simultaneously running program. But we will be open since 8:30 because most of this, and it just happened to me when my parents were living with me. When I left to work at 8:30, then where do I bring them? So we will be open since 8:30 so that we can receive them. We'll give them coffee until we're ready to start. We'll have something for them to read and just nice music. We'll make it enjoyable.
That's good. Other questions for the applicant?
So, Rita, you mentioned the state regulations. Is there a single or multiple license requirement? What's the structure of that?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Is there, with the state licensing requirements, is there a single license, or what's the structure of that?
So there's a license that we need to once we get our city licenses and permits together, we're waiting on that so that we can submit for the permits for the state. It's a one permit that we will need. However, to get the Medicaid long-term services, like the Fidelis, the Molinas, the long-term care,
Right.
they also require that we go through this step first. I can't move any further until we get this
Right.
done.
Understood. Sure.
Yeah. So, but each have their own permits and
Right.
regulations.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
All set, thank you.
So, Rita, I'm assuming your program is a tenant in the property?
Yes.
Okay. And the parking regulations required by the code will need to be met by the owner of the property?
Which is something right here.
Mr. Owner.
Yes.
Great. And the dumpsters will need enclosures in the area where they are located.
Yep.
We have a little regulation for the dumpster. It has to be high. The screening needs to be a little bit higher than the actual trash bin itself, or whatever. Okay, great. Those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay, thank you all very much. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Provide your name, address, and comments. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. I see no one rising to speak, so we'll close public comment on this major site plan review, and we'll turn to our seeker process.
Has everyone had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Is everyone familiar with the short EAF Part 2 also contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe the project will have any moderate to large impacts under seeker?
No.
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
Or I move issuing a negative seeker declaration.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the seeker motion before us? There is no discussion, then all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is approved. We can proceed to action on MASPR 25-00, the major site plan review for the project on Geddes Street at Marcellus. Is there a motion?
Before a motion is made, staff would just recommend that if a motion for approval is suggested, that 2 specific adjustments or additions be added to the conditions of approval. One being for condition number 2, that we also include section 4.4G, which would cover the dumpster screening. So that would be in excess of what's listed as 4.4 F, H, and E. We would add 4.4G to that to include the dumpster. And also,
So you're just adding that to the second bullet?
yep.
Okay.
Just adding that to the second recommended condition. And also that the business owner obtain and maintain all required New York State licenses.
I have one last question, Rita, that I neglected to ask you. I'm sorry. The hours of operation, I heard you say 8:30 start.
Yes, so we will be operations with this, the full amount of seniors and the bulk of it
Right.
will be from 10 to 3.
Right, okay.
But we're going to be open since earlier so that, we can handle people going to work.
Right.
And if they need to stay a little longer, we'll be there.
That out.
Yeah.
And Monday through Friday,
Yes.
first start? Yeah.
We will probably have special events with the families, maybe on a Saturday here and there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, sorry.
Is there a motion then with incorporating the conditions that Jake just outlined for us?
So moved for MASP -24-00 with the conditions as described beyond the general conditions by the zoning administrator.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The major site plan review is approved for MASPR 25-00. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Rita. That's wonderful.
We'll look forward to the grand opening. And we move on to another application for this evening.
I should have made this announcement at the start of the meeting, but, so I apologize. If anybody is here for a special use permit at 2564-70 Erie Boulevard East, which is SP-24-27. That application is currently on hold pending some revised plans with the applicant, with our staff. So I do apologize for anybody that's here to comment on that.
And it looks as though maybe no one was here for that, but when that moves into an active stance, notification will go out once again for SP 2427.
Next up is also a special use permit at 405 East Division Street, SP-24-32. Owner Dominic Zavaglia, applicant is, I apologize if I botched the pronunciation of this.
Good evening.
Hina
My name is
Kundal.
Dominic Zavaglia, the owner of 405 East Division Street.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Please wait. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry,
I just
bud.
want to make sure the board is ready. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm Dominic Zavaglia, the owner of 405 East Division Street, Syracuse, New York, 13208. And my applicant, he got sick. He couldn't make it tonight, so I'm here for myself and him. He applied for opening a little grocery store, and I guess he got denied the first time, and I'm not sure why. That's why I'm here, to find out.
So it's a special use permit that is the formal application involved here. And can you just say a little bit about what's going to happen there? Give us an overview.
Excuse me?
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're proposing to do there?
Oh, yes, he's gonna, it's like a smoke shop, like a little grocery store,
Okay.
and about it. It's just a small place, you know.
Okay.
A couple.
No tobacco.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I
Question.
just want to give some background information.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, the special use application is to establish a food and beverage retail, food store called Big Brother Market, operating Monday through Sunday, 7 a.m. to midnight. That's what they're asking for. I'm glad you're here as the building owner because we can address some of this stuff. The building itself has not had its New York State mandated certificate of compliance since 2017. The city of Syracuse's Syracuse Property Conservation Code states that a structure requiring a CFC shall not be occupied without this certificate. And I will note, code enforcement has had past history here. We've actually closed the store because they were operating illegally, both without a certificate of use, without a special use permit, but also the building itself without a certificate of compliance. I'll note we've issued 47 violations to the property since 2020. And our last observation of this tenant space were that there were a lot of violations, work done without permits. Again, all this stuff would be covered on the CFC inspection to verify the basic general property maintenance is met on the structure before considering a potential new use. But also, it would also verify that the apartments upstairs are in compliance, which we're unsure of at this time. On the actual number
So in
that
other
exists
words,
as well.
a property owner is unable to lease its property to a tenant without a certificate of compliance
Correct.
first.
Yep. So, my recommendation to the board is that this be, go
The
ahead.
other issue is that there are residential units up above, and they have never been approved. It's changed from what was identified as one apartment and an office, but allegedly, I think the application references 3 dwelling units. They were denied a variance for that density in 2021 and for modifying their parking. So from that perspective, we wouldn't be recommending in favor of an SUP until the violations are corrected.
But I would also assume, correct me if I'm wrong, that those apartments as leased, rented, will fall under the certificate of compliance as well, inspection.
They're illegal.
Right.
Well, it will go through a zone check, which would determine what the property is legal
The status.
for,
Right.
and then it would go through inspection.
Yes, I own the property since 2021. 2001, I'm sorry. And it's always been 3 apartments and a store since I owned it. It's
Right.
always been that way.
But per, yeah.
I had a
You were-
24
You were
years.
denied a variance to establish that, so what we're saying is you still haven't complied or established what's there physically. I hear what you're saying, but you need to start there before we can consider establishing a new use in an illegal structure that can't be occupied by law.
Where should he start? Which office should he start
He,
with?
he needs to apply for his CFC.
Yeah, I did
With-
apply for it. I sent the check.
Okay, then you need to get your inspection, and then you need to either reduce occupancy or somehow establish a lawful use of all your tenant spaces, including the residential dwelling units. So if you can't have 3, you'll have to reduce. If you can have 3, you'll have to establish it that way, get building permits, architectural drawings, code compliance, all that stuff. Once all that's done, if you can come before this board and say you have a valid CFC and we verify that, then I think we could consider
The second piece.
establishing a business in this building, but until then,
Right. So you've mailed in the application and sent the checks, so I believe now the next step is that an inspector will make an appointment with
Yes.
you to actually walk the entire property inside and outside.
Okay.
And after that, there will be a meeting with you and the inspection division, identifying what they just have found and what, if anything, needs to happen in order for all of it to be in compliance. Once it's in compliance, the certificate is issued, and the property is then able to be leased to a tenant for commercial use on the
Okay.
first floor. Do I have it right, Jake? Good?
Okay.
Yeah, so if I could clarify, if I'm understanding what we're talking about here correctly, in the past, when we've had properties that have a long history of code violations and issues that need to be resolved, we've used a SEPTEP report as one of the ways of dealing with that. However, if I'm understanding correctly what you're saying, Jake, that the CFC actually initially would handle some of these issues better, and so perhaps we would just say, as a condition that CFC needs to be met before we would consider the full application.
yeah, I would agree with that statement, and also say that the SEPTED evaluation could be part of any future special use permit application.
If the application were then to come before the board for a food and beverage retail establishment, we would most likely recommend a SEPTED review of that application in addition, which again, the staff, that's up to the staff to handle. They can request it and get the findings to you.
Okay. So the next step is the inspection then, okay?
Correct. Right?
Okay.
Yes, yep. Mayor,
Although we just,
a couple of things. What I was asking council about is just kind of the next steps here, and it regards to what the board's going to do, but I'm going to propose this question to the applicant. The best thing to do, in my opinion, would be to withdraw this application at this time to complete the items just discussed. Short of you withdrawing, this board will have to consider making a motion. I guess you you could hold it, but we're not gonna resolve this in 3 weeks, I don't think. So the easiest thing and best thing to do, I think, would be to withdraw and then resubmit once all those items are taken care
Those
of.
other steps are.
Otherwise, we're gonna have to take an action.
Right. Well, that makes sense. It makes sense. If that makes sense to the applicant, that's simpler than if we actually take action and put it on hold.
Okay.
You agreeable to that?
Yes.
So we'll consider this withdrawn, and we'll expect you to return at a later time when these other items are taken care of.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we move on to the next item on our agenda.
Next up is another special use permit. Sorry, I just lost my. It's 2000 East Fayette Street, SP-25-01. This is in the MX2 zone district.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Amar Al-Ziadi. I am here on behalf of Uptown Convenience on 2000 East Fayette to get a special use permit. When I opened this business, I applied for all the right paperwork to get it up and running. Codes had required that I get a couple of things up to code, which I did everything as far as electricity, roofing, plumbing, and they came not too long ago. They came and shut me down maybe like a month, 2 months ago, and they said that something about a special use permit, which I didn't have no idea about because I would have did the steps all together. And so I hired an architect, and I'm here today. Thank you very much.
Are you the owner?
I'm the business. The owner is present.
Yeah, you run the,
I run the business, man.
Business.
you don't own the building.
No, the owner isn't present at the time.
The owner is here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I guess I'll start if you guys, my recommendation is that we have a SEPTED report done on this property and its business as a way of gathering more data. Apparently, there were some code violations as well as business use violations that are in the midst of being addressed or not.
Yeah, I don't have no violations under my tax ID. I don't know what the previous owners had, but when I came, like, I communicated with codes, did everything they said, licensed electrician, tried to go everything by the book, and I don't know, they told me it was about a special permit use, like after they came and shut me down, but everything that was required for the certificate of use, I've done.
Okay. So in order for us to consider, I would recommend, in order for us to consider the special use permit,
Yes, ma'am.
we need, or I would like to see, can't speak for the rest of the board,
Okay.
a SEPTED report, which is basically a evaluation of the perimeter security, the interior security, et cetera,
ma'am.
and compliance. It will also make some suggestions to improve the safety and use for the neighbors of the business, et cetera, et cetera. All of the findings will be shared with you and the owner.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm sorry, I'm not really understanding the spectac. What is that like?
So
Couldn't hear him, sorry.
I can't.
what that would entail is we would work with our Syracuse Police Department to get an evaluation of the property based on a number of different factors for environmental design and safety to possible recommendations on things that you can do or the building owner can do to make that property more safe for occupants and the neighborhood. Staff would like to point out, and it is in your packet, but this business was closed by code enforcement. It does have 2 strike letters for nuisance abatement arrests, which are qualifying arrests. We've had regular major trash issues and loitering, so DPW and the code enforcement private contractor have done a lot of cleanups here where we've had to bill the owner. We did one major clean out last year. The applicant did mention some of the code issues they had. They did a lot of electrical work and a roofing job without a permit. They have since corrected that. I think that's it.
If I might say, it was a lot of cleaning done there. And the place has been there for over, since it's been there, maybe 70 years as a special, you know, as food and beverage place, you know. But like I'm new to the, you know, Syracuse. I've not been here too long. But
So are you aware that this is ineligible for tobacco sale? And the liquor license attached to the property has expired?
I don't sell, currently I don't have tobacco in there.
Yep.
And I don't sell alcohol at all.
So no tobacco and no alcohol? And it's still going to be a profitable business, you feel?
So juices and chips, man. I'm not, you know,
Okay.
I'm not greedy. Man.
Right.
So just, we asked staff, what would you suggest as the next step? Just like the other property owner, what do you suggest the store owner should do next?
Yeah, I mean, I think our inclination is we would like to see a SEPTED, but is the CFC
request
process
that.
adequate as with the previous case?
Well,
They have a COC.
yeah,
They
this
have a
is
CFC,
just
okay.
a, this
Right,
is
right.
just a commercial
Right.
building, so
Got it,
there's
right.
no
Thanks.
residential component, so a CFC is not required.
Okay.
So a little bit different with this one.
Right.
Obviously, they can't get a certificate of use for a store without the special use permit that's pending. But if you're recommending a SEPTED review, we can add this back to the agenda after that review is done. We could try to get it done, you know, by the next meeting date, but if not, definitely after that, for sure.
Is there consensus about a SEPTED analysis?
Right, I think that's
I
a good
I'm-
idea.
would like to see that.
So staff will reach out to Syracuse Police and see if we can get this completed prior to the next meeting. We'll do our best. Obviously, I can't control that.
Can you, so that we're sure that you receive the review, can you give Christian your exact name and mailing address? And can the owner of the building also do that? So that we are sure that you're fully informed of the findings? That would be great. Or, is that all right, Christian? Okay, so right over there, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So clearly, we're going to hold this, but since the application has been
Who's here to talk
opened,
about it?
and while that activity is taking place over there, I will ask if there's anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application to come forward to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Angela Murphy, and I wanted to say that we really miss this store. We call it the corner store, and I'm partially disabled now. It hurts me to walk so far to the store, and I got neighbors the same way. We really were hoping, praying that we can get the store back open. We need it in our community.
And your address is?
1901 East Fayette Street.
Thank you.
And my feet bother me so bad. I don't have a car, and half of us don't have a car. And we really, really miss that store. We sure do that community. Yes, ma'am. If y'all can help us to get it back up, we sure need it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. And they treat us real nice at the store. They real nice gentlemen. They treat me real nice, like I'm family, and everybody else too. I'm from down south. I've been up here about a year and 6 months now, so I'm trying to like it up here. I like it pretty good, except for the snow. Yes, ma'am. But I appreciate it if y'all can
Thank you.
help us out.
Thank you.
If they need me, I try to do something, to help them out sometime, part-time or something. Thank y'all so much.
Great,
Have a good one.
thanks.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Are there other individuals who wish to speak in favor of the application? If so, please come forward, provide your name, address, and your comments.
Michael Mottram, 433 Ellis Street. And I'd like to say that we're really missing the store because I don't have a car and a lot of others of us don't. And it's only like 5 minutes away. The other nearest stores are like half an hour walk. So it's making it very difficult for us. And like I say, these guys are great guys and we'd wish them to be back in business.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application, please come to the podium. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward, provide your name, address, and your comments. I don't see anyone else coming forward to speak. We will close the public comment on this. We will hold action on it and proceed as outlined earlier with the request for the CTEP recommendations and analysis. And we expect to see this on our agenda in the near future, if not the next meeting, perhaps the meeting thereafter. But this will return. Anyone interested in this will also see the public notice again on this agenda item on a subsequent Planning Commission agenda. So we'll hold this and we'll move on to our next item.
Next
tonight.
up is another special use permit, SP-25-02 at 1129-31 East Fayette Street, owner H&H Management Group LLC. This is in the MX4 zone district.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is May, and I'm the property manager and also partner for this property.
Can you provide a little summary of what this application entails for the special use permit?
Sure, I want to give a little background about this
Okay,
building.
that'd
So
be
we
great.
purchased around like 2020, and it was during COVID, so it took us a year or so to renovate the whole building. And mainly the structure has remained the same. I provided the zoning with the exact picture of the layout when the property was purchased. So we do some minor renovation and upgrading. So upstairs has 4 apartments, downstairs has 2 commercial units. Before we rented out the building, we applied for CFC, and then it took a couple months for an inspector to come inspect the whole thing. During the application time, I listed the apartments and the commercial units for rent, and we found the tenants for one of the units for the commercial to be they want to use it as like a mini mart, grocery store, not grocery, like the mini mart. And upstairs is for residential, consists of 2 3-bedroom apartments and 2 2-bedroom apartments. And then CFC was issued around February of 2000. I cannot remember the year on top of my head, but it was issued. And the tenant did apply for certificate of use, I believe, for the market. And then 3 years later, it was time for renew the CFC, so I applied again. And then inspection was passed, and then the whole time I've been waiting for the certificate to be issued. So, because I do have an eviction to be filed. In order for me to file the eviction, I do need the CFC to do so. And then I contact the code and was told that there's a hold on the application, and then they direct me to the zoning. And that's how I found out that the property need the change of use. But then the whole time, I was not aware that I have to go through this process because CFC was already issued, and the city is aware that there is the market in place.
I can clarify some of this. So the previous land use approval was for like a chicken restaurant. So on the last CFC, the zone check discovered that under the new code, this store would require special use permit under food and beverage retail use. So we did issue a conditional CFC. The last thing, because there's residential in this building, but everything is good except pending this outcome.
SUP.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And the previous restaurant was a takeout restaurant, or was?
Nate, is that accurate? Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I want to add that, but that was back in 1992-ish.
Right.
So the building has been vacant for nearly 30 years. The developer was trying to sell like the whole block. He was trying to purchase the whole block and sell it to a bigger developer, but he was unable to acquire the 2 lots next door. So the building just has been vacant for nearly 30 years.
And the previous history of codes inspections are our previous owner.
Sorry, I couldn't. What was your question again?
The code inspection violations that had been accumulated in our previous owner, not.
The violations were all corrected, and we did receive the CFC in the February of the following year that we purchased the property.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions for the applicant?
Yes, staff, to the applicant and for the board, is just clarification on your proposed hours of operation. I'm just seeing a couple different conflicting, your application lists 6 to 8 hours a day, but I don't know if a time was given, because our staff reports 10 to 9,
Yeah,
10 a.m. to 9
so-
p.m., but your application says 6 to 8 hours a day. So I just want
What are the
to
hours?
see what you're proposing.
Normally 10 to 8 or 9, it really depends, because most of their customer bases are SU students, because 505 Walnut is just like a block away.
Right.
So they come to get like drinks and snacks. In the wintertime, their business has been really slow, and their rent has been late quite often for the past 5 months. But it has been the same tenant since 2021, I believe.
Or like 8 or 9 hours a day then? If
So
it's 10
just to clarify, you're proposing 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other discrepancies, Jake, that you noticed? Or any other discrepancies that we need to clarify?
Oh, no, that was it. Oh.
Okay.
So do we have a CFC here? We do.
They have a conditional, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And it will become a,
Once the SUP issue is addressed.
yes,
Okay.
that's the only outstanding
Okay.
item with code
Just want to make
enforcement.
sure I understood correctly.
Okay.
And you do have an active beer license, correct?
They are in the process of
In
applying.
the process,
Yes.
right? And tobacco sales, it's not eligible for tobacco sales.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions for the applicant?
No, thank you. All set.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Provide your name, address, and your comments. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward to do so. I see no one rising to speak, so we'll close public comment and turn to our seeker review for this permit.
Has everyone had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1?
Yes.
Has everyone reviewed the short EAF Part 2 also contained in your packet?
Yes.
Does anyone believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there a motion to that effect?
Move to issue a negative seeker declaration.
You?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion on the seeker motion? If there's no discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion carries. And we may now return to the special use permit SP 2502 for action to recommend further action by the Common Council.
I move approval of SP-25-02 with recommendation for affirmative action by the Common Council. And beyond the general conditions, there are 9 special conditions we would like to add to the application that are listed on pages 224 and 225 of the staff analysis report.
Thank you.
Second.
Discussion on the motion before us now for the special use permit. If there's no discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? That is approved, SP 2502. Thank you very much.
Thank you, folks. Have a good night.
And that completes our hearings, but not our business. We have other business to attend to under yet another category.
What's the category? Heather?
Yeah, next up under other business.
Heather, other?
This is for a special use permit and modification, SP-23-03-M1. This is a request for a second time extension to allow for meeting the conditions of a special use permit within 18 months, which would expire in about 6 months from now. So the request is to extend that so they don't violate that provision.
And they're all set to go, right? With this extension, right?
Come on.
No. Any questions from the commission members regarding this request for time extension?
Our permits are ready?
Yeah, permits are, the building permits are ready. You know, we need a signature and payment, and they're ready to go.
So we do, in the staff analysis, we do have 2 items that are listed as factors, which I believe probably should be conditions. The first one is just related to the special use of permit shall be met within 18 months of all necessary building permits, and building permits must be executed within a 12-month period. Those are listed as factors, but normally we list them as conditions. Is that correct?
Yes, except for, I don't have the date in front of me. The building, obtaining the building permits within a year is towards the end of this month. Is that correct? Heather, are they still planning on getting those before that expires?
So we don't need that.
So it's really
Okay.
just an extension of the 18-month, meeting the conditions of the special use permit within 18 months. I mean, you can consider extending that if you want, the other part of it, but they plan on obtaining the building permits for
Right.
construction within the
Sure.
timeline allotted right now.
Understood. I'm just asking a question because normally
Yeah.
we do it that way, but it makes sense not to worry about that right now.
Yeah, I mean, we'd like to get rid of it, so if they can sign and pick it up
Yep.
and pay, that'd be great.
Any further questions on this request for an extension? If not, is there a motion for action?
I move approval of SP-22-03 as presented for a time extension.
Second.
Discussion on that motion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The time extension is approved. And we have one final item, I think, for
Yep.
tonight.
Last one, it's a 3-mile limit in the town of Geddes, 3S-25-01 for 764 and 66 State Fair Boulevard. We do have city engineer and her staff reviews approval for this.
Excellent. In that case, is there a motion for action by this body on the 3-mile limit at Geddes?
Move approval of 3S-25-01 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? 3-mile limit case in Geddes is approved, and if there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? We are adjourned until March 4th.
March?
March 4th?
Third.
3rd. Thank you, thank you. Be on the verge of daylight saving time then,
A little bit easier than I expected.
I think the following week.
Right, I think that's Sunday the 9th.
So, yes, that's right.